Britain has just lost America, perhaps for good. Moments ago, former US President Donald Trump stood at the White House podium and did something no American leader has ever done. He declared Britain an unreliable ally, branded its government an enemy of the United States, and issued a direct economic threat. Fall in line or face the consequences. The so-called special relationship, an alliance that has lasted 8 decades, now lies in tatters. And this time, there may be no way back. What unfolds in the next 72 hours will determine whether Britain can still claim any standing as a global power. Standing beneath the American flag in Washington, Trump looked straight into the cameras and called out Prime Minister Keir Starmer, not as an ally, but as a man who, in Trump's words, betrayed the United States of America. He accused Starmer's government of interfering in the 2024 election, of insulting the American people, and of crossing a line that, in Trump's view, can never be uncrossed. Then came the warning Britain would face serious consequences for what he called its disloyalty. White House insiders say none of this was off the cuff. This was a coordinated strike, planned, rehearsed, and executed for maximum impact. Trump's communications team had spent days crafting this moment. Talking points were distributed to US media outlets. Foreign allies were briefed quietly behind the scenes. By the time Trump spoke, the message was locked and loaded. It was in essence a public execution of Britain's privileged status, and Trump wanted the entire world watching as he pulled the trigger. The fallout was immediate. Within minutes of Trump stepping away from the podium, Foreign Secretary David Lammy was seen rushing into 10 Downing Street, flanked by security officers and senior advisors. Emergency meetings were convened. The pound plunged against the dollar. Trading floors across London went into panic mode. Then came the political aftershocks online. Nigel Farage was the first to respond, posting within seconds that Trump is absolutely right. Farage accused Starmer of humiliating Britain and destroying its most important alliance. That single post gathered over 100,000 shares in less than an hour. He wasn't alone. Elon Musk, with over 200 million followers, amplified Trump's message, calling the Labour government anti-American, anti-freedom, and a threat to Western values. The social media reaction became a political earthquake in real time. What most observers fail to grasp is that markets don't respond to rhetoric, they respond to power shifts. The moment Trump declared Britain disloyal, investors knew what that implied. The pound fell 0.5% within minutes. The London Stock Exchange recorded a flood of sale orders targeting defence contractors and automotive companies. The reason was clear. Trump had just hinted at economic retaliation. We're reviewing all trade agreements with countries that don't respect the United States, he said, pausing deliberately. Some governments, some leaders are about to find out what that means. Everyone understood who he meant. Analysts immediately began pricing in the possibility of 25% tariffs on British steel, cars, and manufactured goods. That's not a rumour. That's billions in potential losses forming in real time. Inside the British government, the atmosphere was described as chaotic. Leaked briefings from Downing Street suggest ministers are deeply divided. Some are urging the Prime Minister to issue an apology and seek direct reconciliation with Washington. Others warn that any public climb would signal weakness and confirm Britain's diminished relevance. One senior advisor was overheard saying, if Trump follows through with sanctions, we're facing economic isolation. The Prime Minister's position may become untenable. Starmer is cornered. He has no good options. Apologise, and he looks weak. Britain looks weak. Push back, and Trump escalates. Do nothing, and the crisis worsens by the hour. It's a political trap meticulously designed by Trump's team, and it's working. Meanwhile, the British press has turned savage. Front pages are screaming with headlines like Trump declares Britain disloyal, special relationship in ruins, and Star loses America. Every passing hour without a coherent government response makes Downing Street appear increasingly desperate and disoriented. Let's be clear. No American president has ever humiliated a British Prime Minister so publicly. Not during the Suez Crisis, when Eisenhower forced Britain to withdraw. Not during the Iraq War, when Bush and Blair divided international opinion. not even during Trump's first term when he openly clashed with Theresa May. This is unprecedented and deliberate. Trump is reshaping US foreign policy around a single principle: personal loyalty. In his view, nations that show loyalty get access to trade, to defence, to influence. Those that don't get punished. And to Trump, karma failed that loyalty test the moment official allegedly interfered in the 2024 election. But Trump didn't stop there. He took it a step further, turning a diplomatic crisis into a political realignment. In the same press conference, he praised Nigel Farage, calling him a man who understands real leadership and a true friend of the American people. Think about that. The President of the United States just endorsed the leader of Britain's opposition while condemning its sitting Prime Minister. That isn't diplomacy, that's political warfare. Regime change by endorsement and Farage, ever the opportunist, seized the moment. Within hours, he launched a full-scale media blitz across both American and British networks. His message was simple and devastating. Starr broke the alliance. Only new leadership can fix it. The effect was immediate. Trump began reposting Farage's interviews, tagging him as a real friend of America. The symbolism couldn't be clearer. In Trump's political universe, Farage now represents Britain, while Starmer, the actual Prime Minister, has been rendered irrelevant. Inside Westminster, panic is spreading. Reform UK, once a fringe movement, is suddenly surging in the polls. Political analysts are openly discussing the previously unthinkable of Farage premiership. Trump may have just made that scenario plausible. What began as a transatlantic feud has rapidly evolved into a domestic crisis. The government is under siege from markets, from the media, and from within its own ranks. Britain, once the United States' most trusted ally, now finds itself isolated and uncertain, watching the foundations of its foreign policy crumble in real time. This is not just another diplomatic spat. It's a fundamental test of Britain's identity in a post-American world. And for Keir Starmer, it's a test he may not survive. Reform UK is rising faster than anyone expected. What was once unthinkable, Nigel Farage, as a serious contender for Prime Minister, is now being openly discussed in political circles. And it's no coincidence Donald Trump just made it possible. While Britain slept, Washington moved. Sources close to the White House say Trump's inner circle worked through the night, drafting a package of executive actions directly targeting the United Kingdom. Internally, they're calling it a calibration of loyalty. In plain terms, it's economic warfare. According to multiple leaks, the measures under consideration include 25% tariffs on British steel and automotive exports, restrictions on UK firms bidding for US defence contracts, and even a formal review of intelligence sharing under the Five Eyes alliance. That last item is especially alarming. The Five Eyes, the intelligence network linking the US, UK, Canada, Australia and New Zealand, is the backbone of Western security. It's how these nations share classified intelligence, counter-terrorism data and cyber defence coordination. If that bond is weakened, Britain would find itself effectively cut out of the most powerful intelligence community on Earth. Defence analysts are already calling this the gravest threat to British national security since the Cold War. But perhaps the most striking reality is this: nobody is coming to Britain's defence. Across Europe, quiet repositioning has begun. France and Germany are opening private back channels to Washington, seeking to secure their own relationships before the storm spreads. They have no interest in becoming Trump's next target. Even Britain's Commonwealth partners, Canada and Australia, have gone silent. Diplomatic cables from Ottawa and Canberra reportedly instruct their envoys to avoid public alignment with the UK government until the situation stabilises. In diplomatic language, that's as close as it gets to saying you're on your own. And the European Union neutral. Brussels remembers Trump's first term all too well. The tariffs, the public insults, the threats of NATO withdrawal. They're not going to risk confrontation now. Britain hasn't been this isolated since 1940, but back then America came to the rescue. This time America is the threat. Inside number 10, the atmosphere is said to be suffocating Every attempt to reach the White House has failed. US officials have been instructed not to engage with British diplomats until further notice. For a country that has long called itself America's closest ally, the silence is deafening within the Labour Party. The fractures are widening. Leaked transcripts from internal meetings describe screaming matches between ministers. Some are demanding Starmer resign immediately to prevent an economic collapse. Others want to form a temporary coalition government, a national unity model to steady the markets and restore public confidence. One senior Labour MP speaking privately to reporters put it bluntly. The Prime Minister has lost the confidence of the world's most powerful leader. He's about to lose the confidence of his own party. Then late last night, Trump struck again. On his social media platform, he wrote, "Britain has treated America very badly. They interfered in our election. They insulted our movement. Now they act like victims. There will be consequences, big ones." Then in all caps came 3 words, respect or pay. Within minutes, the phrase was trending worldwide. Millions of shares, millions of views. It has effectively become the unofficial slogan of Trump's revived foreign policy, a warning to every allied government, obey or suffer. This is no longer just about Trump and Starmer. It's about Britain's place in a shifting global order. For decades, the special relationship was treated as a given, the political and military spine of the Western world. But that relationship was built on the assumption of trust, continuity, and shared interests. Trump's declaration has shattered that illusion. The real question now is whether Britain still matters in the 21st century, whether it can survive without American protection in a world dominated by geopolitical heavyweights, the US, China, Russia, and the European bloc. The next 72 hours will decide that. Trump's tariffs could be announced at any moment. The Labour government could collapse within days. The pound is fragile. Public confidence is evaporating, and Britain's global credibility is eroding with every hour of silence from number 10. To call this a diplomatic crisis would be an understatement. This is the most dangerous rupture in Anglo-American relations since the Second World War, and it's unfolding in real time. The stakes are immense. If Trump enforces sanctions, Britain could lose billions in export revenue, see its defence partnerships frozen, and watch its intelligence ties suspended. That would be more than a political blow. It would be a strategic humiliation. And Keir Starmer, already under siege at home, may find himself with no political escape route. The opposition is circling, Farage is gaining ground, the Conservatives are regrouping for a counterattack. Even Labour loyalists are beginning to whisper about succession scenarios for Britain's allies and its rivals. The message is clear, the old order is over. The United States under Trump 2.0 is transactional, punitive and openly conditional on personal loyalty. For those who refuse to play by his rules, there is no friendship, only consequences. This moment will be studied for years to come. It's the collision of 2 political realities, an America that demands allegiance and a Britain that can no longer afford defiance. As markets brace for the next blow and diplomatic cables go unanswered, the world watches a historic alliance unravel in full view. Trump's next move could come within hours. Starmer's government could fall before the week is out, and Britain's very identity as a global power, as an ally, as a nation that once shaped world order, now hangs in the balance. This is not just a story of politics. It's a story of power, loyalty, and the end of illusions. For the first time in modern history, Britain is discovering what it means to face the world alone.